meeting to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This meeting of the East Troy School District Board of Education and all other meetings of the board are open to the public in compliance with state statute. Notice of the meeting has been sent to the media and/or has been publicly posted in an attempt to make the citizens of the district aware of the time, place, and agenda of this meeting. Okay, any discussion? All in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda's approved. We have the minutes of the February 17th regular board meeting.
Make the motion for approval of the minutes for February 17th regular board meeting.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Any changes? All in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Public participation. Is there anybody here that would like to speak tonight? Okay. Move on to the financial report.
I move the approval of February 2025 payments in the amount of $2,137,197.73 and receipts in the amount of $7,358,134.56 as reflected on the financial statements.
Any discussion? Questions?
I think I was going to ask Amy to research. I'm not sure we need to continue our contract with Clockworks, so I wanted to revisit that. It's not a huge expense, but I don't know that we're executing everything we thought we might be against reimbursement for those fees, so.
Okay, any other questions? All in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Discussion action items. First one is approval of donations.
Hi, everybody. Christine Homily, Little Prairie Primary School Counselor. And just wanted to come tonight to spend a few minutes to hopefully get approval on a donation that we received. And Justin, if you're able to. Oh, I see. All right, Cooperation Learn is our family fun night that happens annually. This year it'll be Thursday, May 1st from 4:30 to 6:30 at Little Prairie Primary, and our theme is Space Rocks. And we're really pleased to share that we're co-hosting it this year with East Troy area, with IGET, the Intergenerational Community Center. So we're really excited that Lloyd and others are helping us kind of spread the wealth. He's helping us gain more community partners to help facilitate that evening. And so we're really pleased to have them on board. And so I just have our short video that you're used to seeing about our event. All right. I'm super excited, and I really, really, really hope that we get to 500 people this year. This just kind of gives, since we began Cooperation Learn in 2015, our number of students, parents, and volunteers who have participated, 489. We're so close. So we're really hoping to reach that 500-person mark. And so we are so grateful for PTO. They are so supportive of assisting with that event, donating money for books, and other supplies there. And so really tonight what I'm asking for is the approval of our donation request, $250 from First Citizens State Bank, $250 from Citizens Bank as our community sponsors who help support the snack that is provided at that meal and other supplies. And I just wanted to say thank you for putting our students first. We really appreciate you. Any questions about that?
Christine, if other people still want to make, obviously, donations, they can still do so, obviously, right? Too?
I will never turn your money away.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just want
Yes.
to make sure of that. I just think that's an important thing for people to know that it's, that it's ongoing, and we always accept donations. So.
For sure.
And I don't know if everyone saw from 2015, it said 208, 290, maybe 208 up there. So to be at 93 or 98 and trying to get past 500 in 10 years, it's pretty incredible. And I think the partnership with IGET's great.
Thank you. Great. That's what I've got. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
There's
Move the
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
approval of the two donations.
Sure, and then I'll do the other one.
Okay. $250 from Citizens Bank and $250 from First Citizens State Bank for the event. Thank you so much.
I'll second.
Okay, discussion. All right, all in favor of approval, say thank you.
Thank you.
The second other donation within your packet is from an independent charitable gift fund that has been, the person would like to remain anonymous. So it's to please accept this letter to say thank you for your generous donation of $23,000 to the East Troy Community Schools High School Athletics Program for the purchase of a new scoreboard. That would be the football scoreboard outside. It is understood that the advisor of this fund has been specifically kept anonymous throughout this whole process. So your donation of $23,000 is greatly appreciated. Obviously, we'd use this letter for them to have it for a tax-exempt donation, and we just say a big gratitude to. We've had a couple now anonymous donations for the outdoor scoreboard, and we appreciate it very much.
I'll move the approval of $23,000 from the anonymous donor for the high school football scoreboard.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor of approval, say thank you.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Any other donations tonight? Staffing retirements.
Okay, I have two retirement letters to share here. The first one is from Linda Dodge. So I am submitting this letter as formal notification of my upcoming retirement. I have many thoughts and emotion as my professional full-time career is quickly approaching. I will try to be as succinct as possible, knowing that one of our most valuable resources is time. I began teaching in December of 1987 and came from a long line of teachers. My mother's family, all products of the East Troy Community Schools, had 7 educators in it. The gift of having these high-character adults in my life clarified the nobility of the profession and the rigor that it demanded. In fact, Leona Dobeck shared a story at my mother's funeral that if she ever needed a positive boost as a principal, she would go and watch my mother teach reading at Stone School. My first placement as a teacher for 16 years was at Central Middle School in Waukesha, Wisconsin, now Les Paul Middle School. I would be remiss not to give my fellow Waukesha colleagues a shout-out. Thank you for your patience, early guidance, and showing me what personal growth, accountability, and professionalism looked like. I was given the opportunity to join the East Troy Community School District in the fall of 2005. I remember being excited, energized, and ready for a new challenge. I also looked forward to being on the same academic school calendar as my own 2 children for the next 10 years. I have never regretted my decision to change districts and would like to thank some groups and individuals at this time. To my current and former students, thank you for trusting me to guide you in your health and wellness. My energy and enthusiasm can be a bit much at times, but you allowed me to share it every day. Always remember, it does not matter what your intellect is if you are not healthy enough to go out and share it. Make your health and happiness a priority. To my colleagues, after 36 years in education, I can honestly tell you that for the first 35 are the hardest. Seriously, I thank you for bringing your talents to children every day. Your selflessness and professionalism are appreciated. I am proud to say that I had the privilege of teaching beside you for 20 years. To administration and pupil services, it is impossible to explain to people how important you are to the district. The consistent guidance, patient, caring, and love that you show our children and families is truly impressive. Please remind yourself of this often. The district does an exceptional job meeting collective and individual needs at a high level, and we should be very proud of this. To parents, thank you for the support you showed me in the classroom and in the many sport venues we shared time in. You are the number one reason your child can come to school, learn, and thrive. You are their first teachers. Please remind yourself of how influential you are. To my family, when you are a teacher, you do not punch out at the end of the day. Thank you for supporting me and understanding the rigors of this profession. I am proud of you all, and I'm happy to say that this district had an important role in shaping my two children. To my husband, Dave, your unwavering support to me and children of this district does not go unnoticed. Thank you for sharing your talents with East Troy Community Schools. Finally, I have to take my own advice that I often share with seniors in late May. The only constant in life is change. With this bittersweet so long, I can look back and genuinely say thank you for the opportunity to work in this district. Go Trojans. Sincerely, Linda Dodge. Our second letter is from Mike Moss. Dear East Troy School Board and Dr. Hibner, I began working in East Troy as a college intern, taking the middle school technology education department. 32 years later, I am retiring as a high school technology education teacher at the end of the 24-25 school year, having worked my whole career in the East Troy Community School District. I am willing to train the new person or persons who will take over me. Dr. Hibner's quote from Kobe Bryant hit the mark for me. The biggest mistake we make in life is thinking we have time. I am ready to move on to the next phase of my life. Sincerely, Mike Moss.
I thought I had Mr. Moss his first year of teaching, but I'm actually not that old, so I did not. But I did have him as a teacher. I was doing quick math. I'll move the approval of both retirement notices. With
Second.
deep gratitude.
Oh.
No, sorry.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor of approval, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Perfect. I have, 5 resignation letters, and one of them was not in the board packet, so it's one of the loose sheets that you have. The first one comes from Ben Hurdle. Dear members of the East Troy School Board, please accept this as my official resignation as a school counselor at East Troy High School following the 2024-2025 school year. I want to thank the East Troy Community School District and the East Troy High School for the opportunity over the last 3 years. I will continue to work diligently to ensure smooth transition for all students and educators at the high school. Sincerely, Ben Hurdle. The next one is from Melissa Conkle. Dear Adam Trindle, I am writing to formally resign from my position as the middle school agriculture teacher at East Troy Middle School, effective June 9, 2025. This decision has not been an easy one, but after careful consideration, I have decided that it is time for me to move on from this role. It has been an honor to work with such dedicated colleagues and some inspiring students. The opportunity to share my passion for agriculture and watch students grow both academically and personally has had its impact on me, and I am grateful for all the experiences I've had during my time here. Even with the ups and downs, I appreciate the opportunities I've had to grow and contribute to the East Troy Community School District. I'll be providing a formal letter of resignation in the upcoming weeks, but wanted to inform you about my decision time before the 25-26 school year budget deadline. I'd be happy to discuss next year's budgeting with you in more detail in another email or at a later date. I'm committed to ensuring a smooth transition and will do everything I can to assist in finding a suitable replacement or to help in any way during the handover process. Thank you for the opportunity to be part of the East Troy Middle School faculty. I wish you and the school continued success moving forward. Sincerely, Melissa Conkle. next one is from Laura Fider. Dear Ms. Canoff, and to whom it may concern, I am writing to formally resign at the end of the 2024-2025 school year, my last working day being June 9th, 2025, from my position as a special education teacher at East Troy Middle School, as I will be pursuing work opportunities closer to home. I appreciate my experiences in the East Troy Community School District. I will leave with many fond memories, experiences, and friends. It really is a wonderful community of staff and students to work with. I appreciate how administration at district office knows staff by name, which is an amazing benefit of a small district. Thank you for everything these last 4 years. East Troy Community School District is definitely a wonderful place to work. I wish the school continued success and will always value my time here. Please do let me know if I can help in any way during the transition. Sincerely, Laura Fider. Next one is from Jennifer Dean. Dear Lindsay Harris, I am resigning from my position as special education teacher at Little Prairie Primary, effective June 9th, 2025. I am committed to ensuring a smooth transition and will assist as needed before my departure. Best regards, Jennifer Dean. And the last one is the add-on from Matthew Burt. To Mrs. Amanda Jones, please accept this letter as formal notice of my resignation from the position of Special Education Coordinator for the 2025-2026 school year, with my final day with the district being June 9th, 2025. This decision was not made lightly, as my time with the East Troy Community School District has been incredibly rewarding both personally and professionally. I am deeply grateful for the opportunities I have had to grow as an educator and leader within this district. Working alongside dedicated colleagues, students, and families has been a privilege, and I will always cherish the relationships and experiences that have shaped my career. The professional development, collaboration, and support I have received have contributed significantly to my growth, and I will carry these lessons forward in my future endeavors. I'm committed to ensuring a smooth transition and will do everything I can to support the district in the coming months. Please let me know how I can assist during this time. Thank you again for the support and encouragement I have received during my tenure. I look forward to staying in touch and wish the East Troy Community School District continued success in the future. With great appreciation, Matthew Burt.
Move the approval of resignations as they were read.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Health insurance benefits renewal for the 25-26 school year.
Tonight we have Alex Beaudry from USI, our insurance broker, here to present on our health insurance renewal. So thank you, Alex, for being here.
And then further talk about the renewal and next steps moving forward. So on the screen here, or on the first slide in your packet, this is called the UMR PACE report. We get these on a quarterly basis. One thing to keep in mind as we look at this includes the data of July 1st of 23 to December of 23 versus July 1st of 24 to December 31st of 24. So it's the first 6 months of this plan year versus the first 6 months of the previous plan year. So we're trying to look at the same time period for the data to match, okay? So I just want to be careful this isn't a full year worth of data. A couple of things to note on this page, and I know there's a lot of numbers, so I'm going to just try and hit some highlights. First, your total membership. So in the previous year, we had 411 members on the health plan. That includes employees, retirees, spouses, and dependents. If you remember last year, we, when I say we, the district, removed the direct bill retirees from the plan. So in the current year, that number has decreased 13.6%. So mainly because of the direct bill retirees and their families. The total paid still increased about 3.7%. So even though the enrollment decreased by 13%, costs still increased by over 3%. So just kind of keep that in mind. The main driver here on this upper right-hand chart The main driver of that cost increase is on the high cost claimant side. So high cost claims by definition in this report is anybody who had claims over $25,000 in total expenses. The paid year to date versus the current year to date, that increased by 36%. So we're not seeing a total volume really increase. I mean, we are, but it's being driven by a handful of large claims, mainly on the pharmacy side, and I'll talk about that in a moment. There are some, if you can't sleep at night and you want to do some reading, you can see the key indicators based on inpatient admission rates, emergency room visits, et cetera, and then some demographic information down here. There's really nothing that jumps out at me as unusual with the district. This page, again, I apologize for being busy, but it does kind of highlight the same things. So we talked about the enrollment change in the upper left-hand column there. If you look at this is kind of the meat of the report, and it talks about the total amount of claims. So in the prior year to date, the first 6 months of last plan year, we were at 1.1 million. Flash over here, about 1.15. So not as dramatic, again, about the pharmacy increase from 151 to 06. That's a 42% increase. So again, large pharmacy claims being the main driver of those cost increase. Okay, and again, you can kind of see it on your discounts and a whole bunch of other jargon, but really that's really the point I wanted to drive home. Large claims, specifically on the pharmacy side, are causing costs to increase, despite our decreased enrollment in the health plan. This now shows experience periods from the Group Health Trust, our insurance carrier, Wisconsin County Association Group Health Trust, through UMR. And they went back 2.5 years, so they looked at the full plan year of the 22-23 school year, the 23-24 school year, and so far the first 6 months of the 24-25 school year. And really what they're doing is they're showing the amount of premium that the district paid versus the claims, and then we have a couple of things built in there, like Nice Healthcare, which is our virtual clinic, other expenses, and then they get that incurred claims underwriting loss ratio. So if you go all the way back to 22-23, the district's plan was running really well at a 76% loss ratio. So for every dollar in premium you paid, they were paying out 76 cents in claims costs, which is a strong position to be in. 23-24, that increased to 103%. So you were not a profitable group for the Group Health Trust last year. So far through the first 6 months of this year, we're running at about 95%, so about 5% of profit there. But being in a fully insured space, you want that to be around 88%. Okay, so when we went through this a few weeks ago with Kirsten and Amy, you have a rate cap in place that's at 9% or 9.9%. I had advised them at that time, we need to be prepared to have that rate cap hit our budget, just because medical inflation, what we call trend, is at about 8.5%. Knowing that you're about 6-7 percentage points above their target market, you add that 8% on top of it. I was fully expecting the renewal to come in at your rate cap. So that being said, the next slide just talks about some goals. I think whenever we talk about health insurance, meeting these district strategic goals around it, we want to continue to offer competitive benefits at the lowest cost that we can, right? Attracting and retaining teachers is very difficult. So how do we continue to offer the absolute best benefit package we can, while also meeting the district's financial goals? So WCA Group Health Trust did come in at 9%. They negotiated it down to 6%. And we beat them up a little bit more, and it's coming in at 5%. So if we made no plan design changes, left everything exactly the way it is today, so the copay stay the same, deductibles stay the same, coinsurance stays the same, plus they're going to add a few more things. So right here is some value add programs that they have today. So the hearing program, maternity management, annual exam gift card, health club reimbursement, Nice Healthcare, that's all remaining. Plus we're adding Better Health and One Pass Select, which is a gym membership program, which I'll talk about in just a moment. So slight plan enhancements, nothing's getting worse, and we're coming in at about half of where the budget was expecting. So a very strong position to be We did ask Group Health Trust, what if there were some plan design tweaks that we could make in order to get the renewal down a little bit further. They both were deductible changes, and we can talk about that if you're interested. My strong recommendation is to leave those changes in our back pocket for a year that we really need them, because there will be a year that you will need it. So the fact that we're coming in at about half of where we were expecting the budget without any major plan design changes, lots of stability, which I think is a strong thing, a couple of plan design changes, it's our strong recommendation that you accept the renewal as is for the 2025-2026 plan. That was pretty quick and a little bit of a rant. Any questions on anything that I presented?
The increases we're seeing in prescription costs, are we an outlier, or are peer organizations seeing the same thing?
Pharmacy trend is the highest area of growth in healthcare. So I mentioned trend earlier being about 8.5%. Pharmacy is about 15%. So if you were an average group, and I understand that nobody's average, but if you were average, we would expect your cost to go about 15% in pharmacy. So the fact that it's at 42%, you are an outlier. But also a group of your size, that could be one specialty medication that's throwing that out of whack. It's not uncommon now to see, you think of the medications you see on TV, Stelara, Humira. I mean, Stelara could be $180,000 to $200,000 a year just in pharmacy costs. So it's not uncommon that it's a couple of specialty medications that are likely driving that.
What did we have in our Baird estimate for? 9 was in there? Okay. Okay. All right. Mm-hmm. Sure.
Are we taking action now, or is there more enclosed?
On this, we can really take action now, and do it later, but
I have sort of a silly question. I just can't remember. Last year, did we change from 2 plan options to only 1, or do we still have 2 plan options? Because I thought
Yeah,
did.
that was 2 years ago. So
2 years ago.
2 years. I know it feels like it was yesterday. Yeah. So we have the one plan design right now.
Got it. Thank you. I mean, that's what's here, but I
Yeah.
was trying to remember. Okay.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the insurance renewal at the 5%. Any discussion? All in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Hey, don't forget your bag. Don't. That was last year. That wasn't 2 years ago. That was last year. Don't forget your bag.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next item, traffic design for the middle school, high school related to phase 1 of the referendum projects.
I want to stress to the board on this one, you'll notice it is a discussion action. But this is not at all in regards to the bids related to the traffic component. There will be bids for other things in closed session shared tonight that will go back into open. But for this tonight, what PSI and us as the district are looking for is ultimately the board to approve of the design for the middle school, so then they can get the bids and they'll bring them back to the next board meeting, April 7th. But because we know this is such a, to be honest, right, involves so many people in both buildings, and it's a highly populated area at certain times of the day, we want to make sure that everybody is comfortable from the standpoint of what's being presented. And they will go through, we've involved many people in this process, from the ad hoc to obviously transportation to staffing and everyone else. But I think it's really important for the full board to either give the thumbs up or not on this tonight. Go ahead, you guys.
Hi, good night, or good evening. This is, I'm Jason Rayton from PSI. I'm the principal architect on this project. And when I'll go over the changes from what you've seen in the past, and want to thank the district for their diligence in sitting down with all those stakeholders to get the right plan for the school, mostly on the safety issues required for the drive aisles and everything. So I'll quickly go over the different changes, and then if Mike wants to add anything. So the bus drive, we wanted to increase to allow for at least three more buses in the bus queue. This is to help alleviate some of the traffic that goes back and forth to the high school and the middle school. And in order to do that, this drive becomes dangerously close to this crosswalk, so this crosswalk is now a safety issue. So we're going to eliminate this crosswalk, take the paving out, sidewalk and the curb cut, and restore that with seating and cover up the striping.
Don't touch it.
Just point.
So we'll have to do the same thing with the drive. We'll take out the paving, take out the curb cut, and restore it with grading and seating. The other changes that then have occurred, we're going to put a crosswalk, which makes the most sense to be lined up with the existing main entrance. But we're going to crosswalk, new striping across the street, and new curb cuts and connections to the curb paving there. Everything else here has stayed the same with our safety, blocking off this connection from the parking lot to the bus lane. That was a big issue. The other things that we are looking at doing over here is before the drive aisle, coming in and out was more lined up with the one across the street with the high school. And in discussion, it felt safer to move it offset. And the other thing it does is it gives a longer pier here between this right turn only exit to the stop sign. So more vehicles can be on that location. And then it'll also increase a few stalls for the queuing for drop off and pickup. This light shaded area is new paving concept that would be added. We currently have had our bidders looking at everything else, but they are not part of these hard bids yet. So right now we're going to have them look at what it costs for the rest of this paving expansion to see if we can pull that into the budget. It will require 2 additional parking lot lights, again for safety, especially with your evening events that may happen in the athletic fields. Having a well-lit parking lot is really important. And then we just kind of add some landscaping here to kind of make it a little nicer with some trees. Otherwise, everything else has been the same. We have right turn turn in for both directions, but only exiting only in the right turn to make sure the traffic flow keeps going to the east.
Is that the same for?
Same for the bus. Same for the bus drive. Not yet. That would have to be. We'd have to cover up striping.
I'm not right, I'm just asking.
Yeah, and add that sign.
So right now, the middle school, the drop off, pick up, the exit.
Correct. Yep.
There's been discussion to do it at the high school too, and they would just take a concrete median, kind of like we show in the drawing of the thing, so you can't drive over it, and then like a directional sign with a little bit of striping, turn right if it was decided to do that. It made sense.
You currently have, directional control on the bus drive, do not enter signs and stuff like that. So if you carry that theme that you currently have, the buses already kind of turn right when it comes.
Then you're adding some sidewalk, correct, on this side over there?
Here,
Yes.
this is actually replacing the existing sidewalk, but making it wider so that the snow removal equipment can actually work. Because it's only 4 feet wide now, or it's a little less than 4 feet wide now, and the snow removal equipment is much wider.
Yeah, along with the extension of the bus lane, there's some additional concrete as well, if that's what you're meaning, because you want to have access to that lane for pedestrians.
The other things that we did, we're adding a walk lane here for drop off so that people don't have to wait till they get up to this part where there's actual pavement to drop off the students. They can start dropping off the students with that back here, and then potentially move out and get out. And then we're reducing this sidewalk on back, and filling that in with asphalt as well. And then also, part of the original design too was a concrete pad for your dumpsters and a fenced in dumpster for, and then restriping.
How many parking spaces are being added? You're going from what number to what number?
I don't know if I have your original number in here, but about 141, and I believe that's an addition of, I want to say 50 parking spots. I think you had under 100.
Say, I bet, yeah. I bet it was a third.
Yep.
Can
And
you,
we're replacing the basketball hoops and restriping that.
can we talk a little bit more about the extension of the bus lane and the justification of that? I don't remember that part really being a concern, that the buses are backed up. Like, I feel like the buses are backed up because cars are driving through there and they can't pull in, more than that there's not enough space for them.
Sure. No, the idea behind that was to limit the amount of cross traffic so what we're trying to do is cut back on the number of students that have to walk across the street from the middle school over to the high school and vice versa. So by bringing 3 more of those buses, we limit the amount of kids that have to cross from the middle school over to the high school, which tends to be slightly higher numbers than they are from the high school to the middle school. Does that make sense? So if we bring more of the queue over to the middle school, there's less student traffic having to cross the street.
I guess I'm curious how much that part, not in exact dollars, but just, what that adds to the project.
Sure. And those numbers we haven't received yet, so we can certainly look at that when they come in. Yeah.
We're working on that, and we're gonna be able to have alternates for these modifications and others.
And I'm not trying to make it a big
No, sure.
nickel and dime
Legitimate
thing. I
question.
just don't know if that's the most important part of the whole, reflow.
Well, I mean, part of that flow was to kind of eliminate the likelihood of a kid getting caught in traffic or having to cross a busy area. So we thought by moving more of that queue over to the middle school, this would just kind of accent that what we've already done kind of in that corner over here on the west side.
And I'm not familiar with how many kids get off the bus at the high school and then walk to the middle school.
I have the numbers in an email. I can get that information to you.
The
so
kids
you
that
know.
I see walking across, I feel like are staff children who, you know, probably come to school with their parent.
Sure, sure.
And I'm not standing there all day watching, so I'm not trying to be,
Yeah.
you know,
I can-
argumentative about it. I'm just curious how much of a occurrence that stuff is.
Sure, we did evaluate all that, and we looked at all the
Yeah.
numbers together with the transportation department. I can get you that information,
Sure.
so you have it.
Sure. What are all the white flecks on the parking lot?
White
Oh, those are arrows.
arrows,
Those
yeah.
are arrows. That was just kind of conceptual arrows showing traffic.
Can you zoom in on that a little bit, please?
Basically,
Okay.
you come in from
There we go.
the drive-in, the Q lane, and it helps to direct you to do the drop-off process, and then also have kind of like the drop-off.
They're not necessarily painted on the pavement. It's,
No, that's fine. I just didn't know what it was. I mean, I thought they were probably arrows, but I was like, I don't know for sure. I should just ask if I can't see it.
Arrows in some text towards just how the traffic flow would work, come in from that Q lane, the drive-in, go around the drop-off and pick up, and basically how you navigate around the parking lot. If you're parking, or if you're just dropping off, picking up, and getting out, basically that's what it shows. And it's something that we should finalize as we go into it, in like a submittal process, get to the build part of it, where we go through your striping plan and say, for sure, do you want an arrow here, do you want one less, do you want one more, what kind of text do you specifically want, but it was just coming up with, doing something that will have some coverage towards that and doing some of that striping.
Because what it's meant to be is the interior lane is if you're parking.
Not really parking, that's the
Oh.
drop off and pickup lane.
Correct.
yes.
And there is a passing lane, so you have the drop-off queue, and then to the left of that, you would have a lane to get around. So like, usually at pickup time, that ends up being more of an issue because some kids walk a little bit faster than others. And so when you're picking up your child, you would, if you're further back in the queue, you'll be able to get out and still get out of the lot. You won't be stuck in that line waiting for somebody to get picked up.
Most of the people parking here in school day are staff, so they are in here. Parents that need to stop at the school, will have to probably wait for the line, so it's getting an opportunity to
I'm so sorry. Can you actually like motion what the path is then?
So they come in here, come in here, and I'll drive in here, and this is the queue lane. So after they drop off the students, they'll drive out and exit through this right here, do a right turn lane. And then, but once you get here, you'll have an option to go to find parking spaces when you stay. Like I said, most of the staff are already parked by the time that comes through.
But you have the opportunity to just drive in here and go park. Or just go around and do whatever and leave. Because this is the drop off. And you see this line right here? This is the lane and this is the drop off. I'm glad you like all the drop off. Navigate around this if they're not a part of it.
Or else honestly, the volume gets backed up and then people get more and more impatient.
We've also extended the queue the full length of the building on that site. So before, a lot of people would just wait to drop off at door 3. That queue, that sidewalk goes all the way to the end of the
They'll
building.
still do that.
Sidewalk here, here's up.
Probably like.
And I did ask that at our meeting, why doesn't this come up and exit here?
Yeah, that's what I thought it was until we zoomed in.
Rather than come all the way around, because they need that space for few cars, right? The few cars that are lining up to get out on the street, otherwise they would back up where they're dropping off. Instead of only like 8 cars parking or waiting to turn out, now there can be 30 cars.
Right, so after exiting, park and queue here rather than queuing on the parking lot.
It would back everything up kind of at that elbow right by door 3, potentially.
Is it true that staff is mostly in the parking lot before student drop-off starts? Or is it a real mixed bag? And I'm not saying that in an accusatory way. I'm just like honestly asking because I would hate for staff to be stuck in this line just trying to park. Okay. And then if you can move it down a little bit, what thought have we already given to the space between the entrance exit? No, well, sure, those two. No, I'm thinking about parents who are just pulling up there to drop off.
Coming from this direction,
Yeah,
coming from this direction, or from this direction. They'll be able to turn here.
but they,
You're talking about the people who stop and drop off?
mhm.
To me, that's something that I talked to Adam about it. It's something that we're definitely gonna have to be out there watching, making
Yeah.
sure everybody's coming onto the lot, not dropping off in the road. That's gonna be correspondence that goes out prior to the start of the school year on how the new traffic flow will work, kind of letting them know what this affords them as far as speed, maybe something that they weren't used to
Yeah.
before, and then kind of what that cluster was right by door 3, like all that is eliminated. So I think that what they'll find is that this is a far more efficient way of getting in and out, as opposed to what it used to be. It's gonna be a learning curve for everybody. I think it's gonna be a new habit that's gonna have to be developed, but ultimately I think it's probably one of the safest designs that we could have come up with, and it also brings that queue off of the road and onto our own property, so.
What's keeping people from driving into the bus area? Is it just a sign?
Yeah, I mean, people
Or-
do
I
it.
believe there's a sign there, yeah.
Okay.
It does happen. People do that. Not a lot.
Is it, I don't remember if it's a bus a certain time period or.
I don't know the verbiage on it. I have to see it. Is it?
We can also change the sign,
Yeah.
put out and say buses only, all times, whatever. And there's gotta be a communication plan when this gets done, like Jay said, to the community about how this is gonna work. And it's gonna take some work when it first gets open, you know, working with parents and teachers and everything else as it happens, you know.
It'll be a
Right
learning
out of the
curve.
gate.
The parents will be less likely to need to come onto that, and the, phase two, moves the.
Main office
Main
to-
office and
Better
secure,
route to
secure
do.
entry here, they'll be parking in the visitor spots.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
I have a couple questions, maybe not so much on this map, but, and if you're not the right people to answer, it's the wrong time, that's understandable too. A couple met with Jake last week. He talked through kind of the bids that were coming in and things like that. So I saw the list of kind of, here's what the cost of the different parts of the project are gonna be. And then he mentioned, a mobilization fee that we've paid. What is that? How does that mobilization fee work? Is that paying for those costs as they come up, or? What's that?
Yeah.
Okay, it's a different thing.
Right now, we're just trying to get decided whether or not you guys do it.
Okay,
Then
cool.
we'll come up when we get to, the
Oh, okay, got it.
So, if you guys have any other questions, by all means, if not, but we'd like to have a motion action done tonight, so that we decide to just get out and get the bid based on this design. And then we'll come back with bid with this scope. Is that right? Okay.
Yes, it could be the second meeting in April too, yeah.
It depends on how the civil design has to catch up to.
Sure.
We're trying to work as fast as we can.
No, sometime
I'll make a motion to approve the traffic design for the middle school as presented.
I'll second.
Discussion.
I have one more question. I don't know how this would be done, but I'm trying to think of the right turn only implications. So currently, I mean, I would say in my very subjective opinion, traffic can get pretty backed up moving west for folks trying to go to Little Prairie or Prairie View after middle school or high school drop off. Because currently they would just turn left out of the lot and head down that street. Some days there's no one, and some, I mean, it's probably time too, but sometimes there's a very long line. I'm just wondering what this changes about the cars that are now going to go down Grade and down West, down Main Street, turn right onto Town Line. I don't know. I don't even know how you predict it, but we're changing the stress of
You're changing the stress that currently is in place on Graydon and Town Line.
Right.
So you'll lessen the congestion there, and hopefully it'll help with the flow, getting into the PVLP parking lot. But that's unforeseen. I have no idea how many cars we can't estimate that.
Could we alter the start time to, elementary school start? In terms of going there first, and then we go at that middle school drop off?
That's a lot bigger conversation than me.
I'm just thinking about everybody that's trying to turn left into the front parking lot, to drop off at Prairie View. And maybe I'm overthinking it, but
It's a fast and furious time in the morning.
I know.
I can say that.
Yeah.
I mean, I've dropping off myself at the middle school. It's
Yeah.
interesting.
I think moving the traffic more onto Main Street instead of Graydon could be a good thing.
I think it'll
Graydon's
help.
more of a residential area
Yes.
than Main Street is.
You'll have more people trying to turn left into the
Right.
elementary
Correct.
schools, but and typically like now that's you can have to wait for a little bit, but that's probably because you'll eliminate though some of the cars coming that would be turning right that they would have to wait for, so you're kind of
yeah, maybe
You-
it's
you-
a
you know,
wash. Maybe I don't
that-
know. I was just trying to think about it because it really is changing that
Oh, for sure.
flow.
I can't give you a definitive answer on that one.
I just didn't know if it had been even like.
No, we definitely
Wonderful.
discussed the traffic on
Stop.
Graydon and Town Line for sure, because that's tough. It's a tough turn in the morning.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right.
I actually think there's more accidents on this intersection, because, right? Does anybody know? I mean, I don't
I'd have to
know.
ask Chief.
Yeah.
I'm sure they
It's
have
hard
all
to know.
Both of those intersections are rough.
the information for it, yeah.
Well, and so is 20 in Town Line too. Should we just start putting stop signs everywhere? I have a few ideas.
There you go.
Roundabout.
We're happy to take a look at, cross traffic between school over there.
I'm not trying to make it a bigger,
Yeah.
Project. it helps.
It's a good
make sure we're
question. I
thinking
just,
about
I
it.
don't,
Yeah,
a
yeah.
lot.
I'm sure you have.
How does this link to town? Right, does it increase the capacity somewhere?
yeah. Anything else?
Parents will get used to it.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely improves things. It's
think so.
been a mess for a while.
Ultimately, that's what we said at the end, is that biggest safety issue, right, where obviously buses
Right there,
and,
yep.
cars were all entering one spot.
Right.
No through traffic.
We currently don't have parents pulling through the parking lot for pickup in the afternoon. Is that right?
It's blocked off, right? Do we block off that back lot? Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, because I was gonna say, we don't pick up our kids over there at all, so. So
Yeah,
that'll
peop-
be a bigger change.
It will.
Yeah,
I mean, you have people that pick up their kids at the park down here,
That's
or
what we
they
do.
park at the library.
like
and-
2 blocks that way.
Yeah, yeah. So hopefully this will create kind of an environment that's, you know what I mean? It's easy flow, it's good
Yeah,
in
yeah.
and out, like,
People
and your
wanting
kids
to-
not having to walk down. Sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
This is a pretty easy transition for the parents to make in order to drop off their
Yeah. The whole-
Any other questions? Do a motion and a second, so if there's no more discussion, all in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, approval of the Start College Now and Early College Credit Program request.
You have a summary of these requests in your board packet on page 52 and 53. So just a couple reminders. Start College Now and Early College Credit are programs that allow our students to take college classes for both college and high school credit. They are entitled to take up to 18 combined credits within their time with us here between the two programs. Early college credit programs typically place in the UW system, and Start College Now is for our technical colleges. So we have 5 students requesting to take early college credit program classes between UW Whitewater and UW Milwaukee. We have 16 students who are requesting to take Start College Now classes through Gateway, and then 1 student through WCTC. And then we have 10 students who are requesting to take Start College Now CNA, which is offered here on campus but taught by a Gateway instructor. So it's still a Start College Now class, but it's taken in our CNA lab. So that summarizes the big picture of what these students are trying to take. If you look in the lists and the details, you'll see we have a wide variety. We have students who are taking classes that are really eliminating general education requirements for when they attend a 4-year university. We have students who are in academies for welding and for HVAC that will give them certifications and credentials when they graduate so that they're able to immediately join the workforce. We have students taking introductory courses in barbery and nail technician, getting transferable skills that they'll be able to use after they leave high school. So we really have a wide variety of courses that students are requesting. Not every course listed will be taken by students. It's often due to their schedule or other things that take precedent in their priorities that they may not end up enrolling in these courses, but they're seeking permission to enroll if it does work in their schedule and for their priorities.
Will the approval of the early college credit and Start College Now applications as they were submitted?
Any discussion? All in favor of approval, say aye.
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 Opposed? That motion carries. Approval of overnight field trip request.
What else you got?
A lot. 2 overnight field trips in your packet?
Nope,
I
just
have
one.
Nick
What else you got?
Bertino. Well, this one's super exciting, so I'll give you 2. I can make you a copy of this if you want. Nick's is for jazz band to go overnight, April 11th through 13th. That is a typical yearly trip that jazz band takes as part of the jazz festival. So he has it laid out for you there. And then the second one is from Ryan Mansky. This is the second part. So he had an overnight field trip to Missouri. We had to go to Missouri. And out of the presentations for Hunch, out of the presentations in Missouri, 2 teams qualified for Houston again. I was talking to Ryan at lunch duty today, and I do think it's important to remember that a very select few groups from the United States get to present at Hunch. And for the last couple of years, we have sent 1 or more groups to Houston to present to the NASA astronauts like it's just any other Tuesday, right? And I think it's important to remember that it is a great accomplishment for these students and something that's truly remarkable and will probably change their path. So that is going to be approximately April 6th through April 12th. He says it's the week before spring break, depending on flights and such. But 2 chaperones, him and Mrs. Belko Van Buren, will go, and about 5 to 10 students, depending on who. They do fundraise to go. It's about $700 to $900, depending on the flights, for the kids to go, and that is money that they have to come up with to be able to go. So they're trying to do that. That's the other overnight field trip.
What do they do for fundraising? Do you know?
Yes, they sell Saruji chocolates. That's what they're doing currently. I do know that they do put kind of some pleas out to different groups. The Education Foundation is one that usually gives the group a chunk of money for, $100 per student or something. So I do, they also do that as well.
We literally buy one.
I move the approval of both overnight field trips, jazz band, April 11th through 13th, and the hunch trip, approximately April 6th through 12th.
I'll second.
Okay, discussion. All in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Stacy. Okay, rescind Title IX policy 412-2264.
So this is a follow-up to the last board meeting where we were unsure if a motion was going to be necessary, but after speaking to legal, they are requiring two different motions, both one for the rescind of 412-2264 and then the next one for the adoption and amendment of 412-2266. So this is not new information. It is merely looking for a motion to approve the rescinding of policy 412-2264. I have one additional note that I wanted to follow up from the last meeting. We spoke that there might be a additional policy coming forward as it related to the non-discrimination statement. So I just wanted to kind of circle back to that and let you know that in policy 412-2264, there is a statement and notice of non-discrimination as it relates back to Title IX. So with rescinding this policy, that notice and statement will also be rescinded. However, we do have a policy currently 411 that does have a non-discrimination statement and notice that was last revised in 2020. And in working with our council, they have stated and advised that that statement is sufficient. So there will be no need for an additional policy in terms of the notice and statement for non-discrimination. In working with Amanda last spring, there was a 5-year self-evaluation of the status of our non-discrimination and equality of education opportunity. And during that time, it was identified within our board policies that we do have non-discrimination statements throughout. However, they are not necessarily consistently written. So as part of the adoption of Neola policies, you will see that we are working to align. So all of our statements are consistent throughout and not mismatched in place throughout. So I just kind of wanted to circle back on that conversation and let you know between the rescinding of this policy as well as the continued adoption of Neola, these things are going to be working themselves out.
I'll move to rescind the Title IX policy 412/2264.
Okay, discussion. All in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is rescinded. And now the amend Title Policy 9, or amend Title 9 Policy 412-2266.
Same one, nothing new to add. It's the same exact strikeout. So if you have it was one of the spare packets I put on all of your tables. Exact same one from last time, just needing a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the amended Title 9 Policy 412-2266. Okay, discussion.
Is that updated at the very bottom? Need to be March 17th instead of February? Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? All in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of the Neola policies, the zeros, the bylaws.
Gone through a first and second reading, and then I was out for some time, so we didn't get back to doing a discussion action item of them. So now we're back, and I do want to reiterate that just when the board approves still, when we get to the, obviously, like third reading, when you're approving of them tonight, we're not approving of them to be implemented and acted upon. Due to the fact, Neola highly recommends that they pretty much direct that their policies don't get implemented until all basically 9,000s. The 1,000 zeros to the 9,000s have all been implemented together. So what you're approving of is you're saying, look, the drafts are good, so we can kind of archive them and move on to the next versions, right? The 1000s, 2000s. But don't expect us to be utilizing these policies. We'll continue to utilize the East Troy current policies until all of them have been approved, which will be some months from now. And then obviously that night you'll approve basically all of the Neola policies, which you will have reviewed over a course of time. Steve, one thing that I if you noticed in there, that you pointed out to me, and I appreciate it. So I got back in there the board vacancies verbiage that we had in our current policy language. I found Neola's policy language on that, which was not in there, and then I converted primarily almost all of our language into it because I thought our language was more descriptive than Neola's on that due to the fact we had to work through that. So I think our language is really descriptive in regards to.
On G, on page 74, where we, after many discussions, we came up with points.
Right.
Yes.
Do we need to determine on this policy whose heads, whose tail kind of thing, or we just decide that?
No, I think you would decide it that night. Just that's fine. Yeah, but it's just clearly indicating at least ultimately in the end if it has to be decided that way, right? In that, yeah, that's 0, and I just want to point out it's 0142.5, which was not in any of the other ones that we had provided. So, other than that, there hasn't been any other changes to the first or second readings of all the 00s.
Sorry, I actually have some questions.
Yeah.
I know it's third reading, but I have finally read every word, so.
Yeah.
Page 90. I meant to check this before I brought this up, and I forgot to do that today.
On the annual school district meeting? Is that
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Our annual meeting is not in July,
It is.
right? Isn't it in September?
Oh, in September on that. Yeah, I was thinking actually, yeah, I don't know why that even says July on there. And it's the, it's third, I think it's the third Monday still, but I'm pretty sure. I'm not even sure it's the third Monday.
We gotta check that.
Yeah, good call.
I meant to, and then I forgot to go
No.
back and check it, but I was like, I think
Yeah,
that's
I had the same.
September.
No, good catch.
Um,
I'm not even sure about the third Monday. Geez, you know how many times I read that? This past year it was? Yeah. I think it always is the 4th.
I mean, this just says it has to be by, well, no, it doesn't. This one is on. Some of them are by a certain date. This one says on, so. Page 102,
Okay.
bullet point D, can we just fix the typo? Should just say consider, not considering. And then the very last sentence on that page, no other business other than that stated in the public notice may be conducted at a closed session, fine. The board may not reconvene its regular or special meeting after a closed session within 12 hours unless public notice of the reconvened meeting was part of the public notice of its regular or special meeting. Are we noting that correctly to be doing that?
Other business other than the state, that's the end of public notice maybe.
Because we often go to closed and then have to go back into open to actually
Yeah,
vote.
I don't think that's what it's saying, though. The board may not reconvene its regular or special meeting after a closed session within 12 hours. I think what it's, I'll look on that. I think what they're trying to say is that we can't go into another closed meeting on a different topic that hasn't been posted correctly. Obviously, we have to come out of a closed meeting to make an action discussion item out of it.
But we always note that we will, as part of the agenda, that we will reconvene.
We do.
As long, so
Yeah,
as long
it's
as
always
that's
denoted
in there,
correctly.
Then
On our agendas, we always say adjourn and then reconvene
Okay,
back into open.
great.
Just as long as
Yeah.
we
I
make sure
think-
that we don't
And I'll
forget
check on that, Ann, and I'll even check on the verbiage for it, just to see.
That's fine.
I think where they're going with that is if you are reconvening into close, if we haven't mentioned that we're ever gonna reconvene back into open session, that's a problem. And then we're coming in and taking action, and someone would argue, well, your agenda didn't say you were coming back
Right,
into
right,
open session.
Page 104, bullet point B, I think there could be better language than any East Troy resident. Our school district is more than just East Troy residents, so resident of the school district or something. for those in Spring Prairie or
Got it.
Page 105. So this policy is, I'm getting my pages mixed up now. This policy is specific to public comment at board meetings,
Yes.
but points L and M, again, maybe I'm just misreading this, but they don't seem to be speaking to
The public comment
public
part.
comment. They seem to just be speaking about other rules of the meeting.
True. I mean, we could look at putting it into the general rules of the meeting, because there's a policy obviously on the meeting rules.
Yeah.
So we could put it over into that policy on element too, I think. I think it could go in either or, so. I
Yeah,
can
they
look-
just didn't, everything else is specifically talking
Yeah.
about public participation,
Yeah.
and those two bullet
But
points are
I'll
not.
look at placing that back over into our general meetings,
'Kay.
policy.
Before we leave that one,
Yeah.
point C, it says attendees must register their name. Do we want must there? Like before, if it's, the way it's worded seems to think if you don't register when you arrive, you won't be able to talk.
We do that now, where we tell them if they are getting up to talk, we ask them, have you signed in and everything?
But we probably let them talk if they were moved to by other people talking and didn't sign in when they entered.
Yeah, I think it's a way of, I would recommend not removing that.
I'm not saying you're right, I
No.
want to make sure
Oh,
it's consistent.
Consistent
Like-
doing it, yeah. And again, I think the emphasis of that, right, goes back to B, ensuring, are you truly a East Troy School District resident that's speaking at it, right? But I hear what you're saying, Kev, do you want the word must because it puts the onus on you?
Or if it was just prior to speaking or something like that.
Rather than upon
Like-
arrival
Yeah.
at the meeting.
Yeah, if the meeting has started and you haven't registered, we'd still let you speak. So I don't know if the
Yeah,
wording
that
reflects
makes
that.
sense.
Prior to speaking attendees. Yeah. Okay, got it.
Page 107. There's just a typo in the start of the second paragraph.
Where is it?
Human.
Yep, got it.
Page 109. Sorry, I'm almost done.
Yep.
Second paragraph. This policy is regarding meeting minutes. It says the notice shall also contain a listing of receipts and expenditures in the aggregate. There will also be a detailed record of all receipts and expenditures available for inspection at each regular board meeting and upon written request. I don't know that we're currently doing that.
Well, there may be things in these policies that, because this is not necessarily.
I guess I should say,
Yeah.
are we looking to do that?
Yeah,
Once we adopt
there's
these
the
policies?
question.
Maybe that's a better way to say it.
Yeah, that's the key question, you're right. And so, we've brought up a lot of different points in these policies. And obviously, we've converted some of them more to the East Troy language. There's been certain ones, and I can, again, look into this. There's been quite a few where we're told very directly, look, 3 lawyers have already viewed these, so don't change that language.
So that's fine.
No, and I'm not saying we shouldn't, and I'm saying I will ask them, like, is that a requirement that you're asking of us? Because, yeah, I mean, we keep minutes, but not to that degree. So, I would
Well,
like
and then
to know.
later in the same policy, it's actually suggesting that our minutes get shorter in
Yes.
terms of, what we're at, recording
Yep.
decisions, and today our minutes are much more descriptive of discussion and
And
things
they're
like that.
actually a lot shorter than they used to be.
Yeah.
So.
So, I understand there's probably many, many things I'm not even calling out that are not current practice, but these are the things that jumped out at me. It's
Yep,
like,
no, I'll take a look at that, I'll ask, I'll follow up.
we're keeping it in there, we better be
Well,
ready
then you
to
have to do it, that's right.
So, did I have anything else?
Is there any problem if we do start doing that?
I'm not being clerk.
You can
It wouldn't be you, bud.
That's all I had.
We'll make sure to put that in there, though. No, there's no problem with it, though, either. those are good. I will make sure to follow up on all
I got
those.
something
Thank
for
you.
you. Wanna-
Do you? All right,
Oh,
which
good.
one?
Great.
Page 82,
Let's go back.
All right.
Love it.
F. Again. So it says, no member of the school board may hold paid positions within the school district regardless of the type or level of position in any of them. So what about coaches?
Mhm.
After that?
Yeah, we're
Say
back to
again,
that.
Steve. I'm sorry, I was trying to find it. All right.
First line,
You can be a volunteer coach, it says.
Yeah.
so we had this one.
Yeah.
It's reinstated in the code.
Yep.
And our coach is saying that that's why you can't coach and
Well, we had to work through that whole problem, didn't we? I mean, it was I think we'd want to look at that again. Yeah. Do we want to? Are we changing? I'd have to look at what we even did back then.
Because it wasn't called assignment instead of contract. But this place clearly states that you cannot do, be paid by the district. It says regardless of the type or level of position.
Now, at that time, if I recall, you would know better than me. It was involving you. It was because of the contract, wasn't it? And we changed it over to assignments. And we haven't changed. We've changed it since then to assignments for all extracurricular activities.
It doesn't clarify it, it just brings it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
It says you can't be paid for coaching.
Yeah, but if you're a JV coach, normally you get paid. Like the varsity coach, you get paid. In this case, you
There,
You'd have to be you'd have to forego the pay and be a volunteer, right?
so there's a state statute referring back to this. So it speaks specifically that a school board member can serve as a volunteer, but they cannot receive compensation for doing as such. So there is a not a lengthy, but there's the state statute that's referenced, that 120.2. If you review that, it kind of breaks down what is allowable and not allowable as it relates back to that assignment.
But going off that statute, what Steve's saying is, if one were to be coaching, or a board member first and then going into coaching, the statute does probably define it as that's a conflict of interest. And so you would have to basically say you'd have to be doing the coaching as a volunteer. Or get off school board. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
And then the other question I have is on page 86. Board member use of electronic communication devices prohibited. You know, it says you can only use them if you're reading the board policy. There's many times where I've had to use my calculator for a timer during public participation, as well as the calculator for checking. So I don't know, I mean, technically, can you use one? We don't have a way to time some of these students.
You guys are good with that? You guys are good with that? Once we get a little.
We've had
Controversial
a
stuff.
little more contentious participation. And I think we should add into the public participation reminder, that you're limited to 3 minutes. And also we should change the word citizen to East Point resident. School district resident. Because that's what the rest of it is. It's 167.
What's the page number on that one again, Steve, off top again?
That was 86 that I was talking about with, use of electronic.
You just don't want somebody texting you telling you something.
Well, absolutely, but if I'm technically, right, it says who's using the phone, but
Yeah.
using the calculator.
Yeah, be more specific with that. I agree with you, and that's what they're saying. But you're saying be specific instead of saying no communication. What it is that you shouldn't be doing with it, right? Because that's exactly what they want. They want to make sure that nobody's communicating with you how to vote on a topic. Okay, got it.
Do you want to wait on this for approval until some of these changes are done, or you just want to approve them?
Well, I mean, I'm not trying to tell you what to do at all. The final version is going to be all encompassing when they come for these. So I guess you got to look at like where the revisions are. They minor enough that you're like, yeah, just make those changes and we'll see the whole packet when they come again, or are they? And I don't care. Or you think the changes you recommended tonight are significant enough that you're like, bring it back again. Doesn't matter to me.
collected notes, we should be able to go back in time and.
Okay.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the Neola policies, the zeros, bylaws with the modifications as discussed tonight. Any discussion? All in favor of approval, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. And we got approval of policy 2225.1.
Yeah, this one I had on the docket to bring a long time ago. We never got around to it, and then I was going to actually bring it in November, and I obviously was not here. So it got delayed. And so what I like to do is this actually on the back page is what more aligns to the verbiage that you're going to see coming forth from Neola. And I would like to implement more of that now rather than later because it aligns to what we've been doing. And it is really what we've been doing a lot more than on the front page. And on the front page, if you even look, the most obvious thing that's outdated is it's not even all the necessary administrative staff on there. So that's the first part, right? Like, and so I kind of would like to get rid of outlining the specific number of each individual staff and leave it as administrative staff. So it's all encompassing. So if we're moving around staff, you're adding staff or eliminating staff, it still covers it in the policy and doesn't have to be changed. Second thing is, I think on the back page, it talks more about, the front page is about evaluative, which obviously evaluation is very important. But the back page, what I like about it is it's more about improvement and growth and evaluative. It gives it still talks about necessary summative evaluations and making the necessary recommendations of contracts and all of those things, which are a must. But I like it that it talks about more providing the feedback, support, assistance on day-to-day and long-term, right? And it aligns to the verbiage we've been doing for some time, and that's SLOs, strategic priorities, and professional growth plans. So to me, it's just it's what we've been doing, much more than what the language on the front. And I think it's better. I think it's much better language. It's much more encompassing. It'll also, so I'd like to make the change to our current policy now, but I can tell you that the Neola policy that will reference this will be very similar to that language. I just don't want to wait for all of our Neolas to get implemented because, again, that's going to be months, if not a full year, still away. So I'd like to at least get this on the docket. And like I said, I apologize. I had it for November, but obviously we didn't get to that.
The ones on the front have specific timings, August.
Yeah,
August.
I added those actually, Adam, so I put those timings in.
Okay. I was
So you'll
just
see
gonna-
that was 99. I put the timings in on the front and the August and all that because I was trying to align it to strategic priorities at the time. So the strategic priorities on the back take care of that.
Okay. Does there need to be a timing on the back then? Or like a minimum number of meetings? It just, kind of leaves it open-ended?
I think it leaves
on
it open-ended, and the reason I like that is, again, the strategic priorities. You guys know how we go about now presenting the strategic priorities, which is a big part of feedback and evaluation, right? And a big part of whether or not you feel we're making growth and progress from a district's lens. And if you ever wanted to change that process, then you don't have to change a policy. It would just be kind of out loud change, saying, we'd like to have the priorities not presented in fall anymore. In the summer, we'd like to have them presented in these months instead.
Okay. All right. I'll move the approval of the 225.1 policy as in the packet.
Okay, discussion. All in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Notice of school board election.
Yeah, I'll read this very quick. Notice is hereby given that an election to be held in the East Troy Community School District on Tuesday, April 1st, 2025. It is not April Fool's. I just noticed that's the date. The following offices will be elected to succeed the present school board member, Ted Zess and Adam Wickowitz. The term of the offices for the school board member will begin on Monday, April 28th, 2025, and end the third Monday in April 2028. In accordance with Wisconsin Statutes 120.0612, the two candidates with the highest vote count will fill the two 3-year term positions. Voting locations will be the Village of East Troy, Village Municipal Building, Town of East Troy, Town Hall, Town of Troy, Town Hall, Town of Lafayette, Town Hall, Town of Spring Prairie, Town Hall, Town of LaGrange, Town Hall, Town of Eagle, Town Hall, and Village of McGuanago, Village Hall. The polls will be open at 7 o'clock a.m. and close at 8 o'clock p.m. unless otherwise stated by the municipality. The electors are directed to vote in their normal or regular polling place. Ballot position and candidates for the two open board positions are as follows. Vote for 2, school board member Adam Wickowitz, incumbent, and school board member Dale Ames.
Okay, choose Board of Canvassers for the election in April.
Yeah, we'll need 3 reputable citizens. I actually did not get the date from Cindy, so if maybe we want to decide that tonight too. Cindy usually gives me the date that she likes to have the Board of Canvassing, but I'm sure I can work that out with her, so whatever works for everyone else on that. We usually do it within a reasonable timeline of the vote, so if it's April 1st.
Friday, yeah, so
Is it
that'd be
Friday?
that'd be the
Okay.
4th.
So why don't we just say April 4th on it? So if we could have 3 people.
I'll do it.
Thanks, Ted. Anna.
You said reputable, but guess what?
Thank you. All right, I'll pass that along.
You need an action on that, or is that?
Yeah, we probably should have an action. We probably should have a motion on that. Ted, Anna, and you. Yeah, I posted anyways. Yeah, no, that's a great question, but I always post it anyways. Yeah. Still has to be on the topic.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve myself, Anna, and Steve for the Board of Canvassers on April 4th.
Second.
Okay, discussion? All in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Looks like the rest of the items go into closed session. Okay. Reports. Dr. Idler, anything? Okay. Amy's not here.
Amy's not here, but I have Rachel here.
Oh, okay.
So Rachel's going to go over strategic priorities and red runners.
Okay.
So strategic priorities from the transportation view, because as you'll recall, we work with everybody in every department on going through the strategic priorities and trying to improve in different categories on the priorities. And then she also is going to discuss the red runners.
We're working on switching fuel cards to reduce our fees, and to save us some money there. Brad, our mechanic, did a study on the oil, and has been able to extend the life of in-between oil changes from 6,000 miles to 8,000 miles. So we are making attempts everywhere we can. But I want to focus on things that we took a hard look at. We did a survey of both parents in the district as well as staff in the district. So that's where these graphs are coming from. So for healthy organizational culture, that equates to safety in my department. We have a little bit of work to do. The higher line on the end is is strongly agree and down up to disagree. So I don't want to say we're doing good. We're at 88% agree or strongly agree, which is great, on how we're doing in safety. I'd like to see us improve that just a little bit more, get some of those out of the ones category. One of the things that was mentioned in the comments was students should not be getting off the bus before supervision begins. So we've been working with Adam Trimdell. We were able to get the doors open 5 minutes earlier, which makes it easier for us, gives us our better window to drop off students in the morning. So we've kind of eliminated that. We don't drop off students now at the middle school before supervision begins, and it wasn't happening at the elementary schools before either. As for staff, all on the upside, but like I said, we always like to try and improve. One of the things that came out of those comments was, as a case manager, I would prefer to hear about and address issues with students with disabilities before the pattern is established and it escalates to a write-up. That one took some doing. Working with Amanda Jones, I was given access to know who case managers are for our special ed students. Before we didn't know, so I wouldn't know who to contact. So now I've been working with their special ed teachers on, all right, Jimmy's struggling on the bus, not sitting down. So before we're going to a write-up, an official write-up for bus behavior, we're working with them at the school level as well as on the bus, figuring out, okay, what can we do to help Johnny stay seated or whatever the issue could be. And I think that's really helped. There's been a couple of kids that I've missed in the way, but for quite a few of them, we haven't had to write them up because we've been able to get them the help that they need to kind of fix their pattern of behavior. So for priority 3, communication and engagement, we asked parents about how they feel the communication is from the department, as well as we kind of felt like maybe they didn't know when to call or who to call. We were kind of right. About 30% of the people that responded didn't know. So we figured that's an opportunity to educate our parents. We asked the PTO to add our phone number to the magnet that they give out to all the elementary kids at the beginning of the year. So they put that on the refrigerator, it's right there. They'll know who to call. We posted and sent out to the schools at the beginning of the year FAQ that includes who do you call, when do you call, all of that kind of information to try and kind of educate everybody. Okay, you can see we're having a disconnect here. Let's get the information out there. Then for staff, we have updated some of the issues we had were with scheduling. We've updated our trip finder dates. Trip finder is the software we use for teachers to request field trips. We've updated that. It used to be 2 weeks, but it was coming in as 14 days instead of 10 business days. So the difference between those was catching teachers off guard, so we switched it to 10 days. And we're still remaining flexible. We still get a lot of requests. Hey, next week, can we get a bus to take us to this week it was, next week, can we go to the firehouse? We'll see if we can get that on our schedule, which is lovely because that's not something you'd be able to do if we had farmed out transportation. For overall satisfaction with transportation, like I said, I think we have a little bit of work to do with parents. One of the complaints we hear a lot is my kiddo has almost an hour on the bus after school or before school. And I understand that. And we make a very conscious effort to make sure it's an hour or less. there isn't a guideline in state statutes or anything. And I know in a lot of other districts, kids are on for a lot longer. But as a department, we've kind of made that commitment. An hour is kind of our cap. Then if it's more than that, we're gonna throw out the route and see what else we can do to try and make it better. We do evaluate routes every year for time and efficiency, but we also set ourselves some restrictions. So there are certain roads that we will not do crossovers because it's just not safe. Highway 120, 20, D, ES, L, lots of red runners. And we also go by first on is first off. So if your kiddo is the first one on the bus in the morning, typically they're gonna be the first one off in the afternoon. So your time actually balances out if you're riding both AM and PM. And I know we do have parents that then will only have their kid ride the short route. And I get that, I totally understand. But we also then don't want Jimmy, who's a half hour away, having to have the longest route, both AM and PM. That's just not fair. We do make some exceptions for behavior and some of our special ed kiddos, but that's kind of our rule of thumb. All of those kinds of things we also added to that FAQ that we gave out to schools to pass out at the beginning of the year, and we also have that posted on our transportation page on the website. For staff, one that stood out to me was just a question. Do you always have to stop, or only if their sign is out for school buses? Which, it's interesting to me that a staff member is asking. That tells me we have a lot of work to do for educating our own staff. And it leads me into the next section. I have been working really hard on red runner reduction this year. I am in the WASBO Leadership Academy, and this is my project. So I grabbed a group of drivers, and this is what we've been working on. A red runner is a vehicle who passes a stopped bus with its red lights on, stop arm out. State law states they're supposed to stop 20 feet away, and if they don't, they get a citation. It creates an extra dangerous situation for our kids getting on and off the bus. I've seen some horrific videos of even drivers going onto the other side into the ditch and kids getting hit. So we just need people to paying attention as they're driving. Since getting the cameras on our buses for the stop arm, our numbers are quite staggering. So in the first 100 days of school, we had 74. That's 74%. The estimated numbers for Wisconsin are 38%, but I'm gonna tell you, you can throw those numbers out the window. Because our district is no different than any other. But those numbers are based on a national survey that they do one day a year, and they extrapolate out for everywhere. According to that, the national average is about 67%, and we're still above that. So all of the screenshots on this are actually from one location on Highway 120. That's why we have to keep it as a right side pickup and drop off. If that was a crossover, that's 7 opportunities that our little friend could have gotten hurt. So what we have been working on, beginning of the school year, we had an article in the newspaper, social media, we've put it in the school newsletters, we've put it out on Parent Square, it's gone in the director's cut, we've gotten lawn signs put up, we've contacted lawmakers in Madison. Part of that was driver's ed curriculum does not contain safety around school buses. It's in the manual, but it's not in the curriculum. So we went to Madison to ask the legislature to put it in the curriculum. Because some of our Red Runners have actually been our students. We've caught them on cameras and we've sent that to Officer Catini to issue a citation. They're not cheap. The other part of that is we're asking that the legislature start giving find funding to have all districts have cameras on their school buses. I am very fortunate that you guys found the money for this to happen. I think you can see why that this is so key. And I wish other districts had that. I had one of the officers stop in a few weeks ago and get an update. Okay, where are our hot spots? Had Officer Hackett has been known to follow our buses, which sometimes scares the kids on the bus, which maybe isn't a bad thing. But he's also, they're also trying to help us, curtail this problem. So for results, we've educated quite a few. We have some more work to do. The blue line here is the days of school. So it's cut off by week. So, and then the red is obviously the Red Runners. And then yellow is those interventions that we've done. You can see it, like in October, this is where we started hitting social media pretty hard. And it did seem to make a difference. Our best month so far was January, where we only had 5 total for the month. And there again, we also hit social media pretty hard. February, that's when we started getting the lawn signs out. So we've seen some reductions, but it's not definitive enough to say it's completely working. We've got more to do. So next steps, I'm working on a redesign. Fab Lab has it right now. They're going to be printing some more banners in a bigger size. On the bigger roads, we've realized that the little ones get lost, so if we have a little bit bigger one in more color, hopefully people will see it and read it. And it's simply just slow for yellow and stop for red. It is the law. We will be continuing to hit social media, and by social media, it's the district webpage. Drivers who are in the community frequently post, as well as the village PD and the township PD are all posting about driver safety. I am working with a local Girl Scout. Her community service project is going to be to, I believe, come up with a video or a commercial. Last time I talked to her. And we're going to continue to push the legislature on some of these things. Any questions for me? I'm always here. That's it.
Thank you.
Much for all that, Rach. You did a good job. I appreciate you doing a survey with parents and the staff. Yeah, and I know you will, and I really do appreciate that. It's always a little nerve-wracking to get feedback, right? But I think the feedback's how we can determine and improve. So I appreciate it. I had one question on the Red Runners, and not to make a longer topic of it, but with the stop arm cameras that we have, so we're getting a picture of any Red Runner. Do we always get a picture?
Almost always.
And so when we're able to get the picture almost always,
Yeah.
do we provide that to law enforcement
We
always?
do. We do.
Okay.
That's 74 and 100 days. I think we sent 74 of them. I think like our 76th was covered in snow. Their license plate was covered in snow.
Yeah, no, that's and the only reason I say it is, right, I would hope people would understand the significance of not doing it for the safety of the children.
Right.
But I also wonder if we should be telling them the significance of that's, now again, I'm assuming this, 74 people have been issued a citation, and the citation equates to this. Like,
Right.
we're not going to ask you why you ran it. We're just going to provide it to the police, and there's a chance you're going to be getting a citation for this amount.
Yeah, it's between $300 and $500.
Yeah.
$500 in the village and the township.
To be honest, they're lucky due to the fact of what else it could have involved.
Correct.
right? I mean, that's the reality. So
Yes. Yes. A couple of years ago, the Wisconsin School Bus Association was successful in getting the fine increased by $300. So some of them were not having much of a fine at all.
it's really interesting too, hearing about the driver's ed. I was not aware of that.
Yeah.
That's very interesting that there is nothing in regards to really that emphasis. And if you think about how the whole licensure has changed even, I mean, from a standpoint of the requirements and not even having to be, allegedly you have to do behind the wheel. It's people signing off on it saying my kid did over whatever 100 hours. I mean, I am. I'm questioning whether or not, did you really do that behind the 100 hours behind the wheel that you signed off on or not? So I think, I just wanted to know that because I think the more we can bring that to the attention
Absolutely.
and everything, the better. So thank you for the work.
Amy?
I'm going to give an update on the meeting minutes from our Student Learning Subcommittee on February 17th. So we had two topics that we discussed. The first was an update on our ongoing K-12 ELA resource audit. So teachers, classroom teachers, special education teachers, reading interventionists in grades K through 12 have been engaged in a resource audit this year. So in the first part of the year, it was comprised of a team of representatives from all of those areas who gathered to look at our state standards, to look at best practices in ELA instruction, to look at our current data and what our needs are, where our strengths and gaps lie, and then also to begin exploring available resources to fill those gaps and needs. Currently, that has now expanded to really all of our teachers who teach ELA as a content area to expand and explore the resources that our team selected from a larger group. And so teams are in the middle of piloting, reviewing resources, communicating with other school districts about the resources they currently use, really gathering information so that we'll be able to come in April with a recommendation for resources to update our curriculum K through 12. The other update was regarding math advancement criteria. So this criteria is used to determine the best course placement for students in the area of math. We have been working with a team of educators and administrators to update that criteria with the goal of making the process more collaborative with families, to really engage families in the conversation about the placement that's best for students, still maintaining clear criteria about what we believe a student who qualifies for advancement would look like, both data and also aptitudes of the student to help make an informed decision for families, but really with the goal of making sure that families feel they're a part of the process of making those important decisions for their children.
And I wanted to provide an update about Act 20. So we talked a lot last year about Act 20 in preparation for the implementation of the law. Things that we took care of as a board and as a district was purchasing the professional development modules that were required. So our staff is working their way through the institute. We have one virtual community of practice left, and then they have their post-knowledge inventory. Our facilitators continue to recognize our staff for their engagement and the work that they're doing around that content. The next thing we did was we added a reading specialist to our elementary team in preparation for the number of students we have to serve. So if you remember, the state selected Ames Web Plus Screener as the tool that we will use to measure students. We administered that per state guidelines in winter. So in January, our students took that in kindergarten through 3rd grade. The state law requires that any student scoring below the 25th percentile was to receive a personal reading plan. The results of the winter assessment resulted in 135 personal reading plans being developed, kindergarten through 3rd grade. In your packet, I have included an example of one of those reading plans. It is on page 125. So We took a lot of information about a student. In addition to developing that plan, our team of reading interventionists met individually with each family to discuss the plans. Part of those conferences included what we are going to do at school to support the students, but also literacy activities that could be implemented at home as a support system. We are now coming up on the spring window of the assessment, so that's going to open here very soon. Students in 4K through 3rd grade will now take that assessment for a second time. We are in the middle of our interventions, so essentially those interventions require 10 weeks. As a result, these assessment results will simply be added to the plan. So in addition to developing the personal reading plans, I send out the results to every family. So that will eventually be done 3 times a year. And then the plans are developed. The spring plans, the information from the spring assessment will go on that plan, but we're going to continue with the interventions because they're in the middle of their 10-week. And then at the end of the year, we will assess who needs to start the next school year with interventions in hopes of seeing that that aligns with the fall testing window. So 5K through 3rd grade is required to assess 3 times a year, fall, winter, and spring. 4K is required to assess fall and spring. Winter is optional, and we chose not to do that this year. We don't think it's developmentally appropriate, nor does it give us the information we need to change mid-year. Any questions on any of the? I want to give you some data about. So if you think about, we have 135 students that we're serving through reading plans, kindergarten through 3rd grade, and we have 4.75 FTE on our reading team. So essentially that's a caseload of 28 students per reading interventionist. That does not include the intervention that is provided at the 4K level or the services that are provided to 4th and 5th grade students. 4th and 5th grade students are not under the legislation, but we are still providing intervention to those students so that we can ensure a smooth transition to middle school. So we added 1 last year, yeah, so thank you for that, because without that, we would have been in dire straits in meeting the needs of our students. Well, I mean, yeah, I don't have data on that. You're thinking about like the special education, yeah. And intervention's a little different from that. We do have special education teachers that are serving kiddos. So if a kiddo has a IEP that includes specially designed instruction in the area of reading, and they also have a reading plan, we try to merge those because it makes the most sense. So we do have special education teachers, assisting some of those. We have students on alternate standards, so they're receiving the specially designed instruction. But we would be in dire straits without that extra individual, and they're already stretched super thin. So more to come. I don't have any, I can't tell you where we fare compared to other area districts and the number of students that we're serving, because that information has not been submitted to DPI yet. So at the end of the year, I will be required to report out to DPI on the number of students served at each grade level and such. And then I imagine we will have some comparisons available to us.
How does the 135 compare to, like, let's say Act 20 didn't exist? How many of those kids would already be receiving intervention?
Yeah, so last year, that's a very good question. And I don't have that off the top of my head, but I can tell you this. Last year, we did not serve students up until the 25th percentile. So essentially, we identified students a very similar way with a screener. But our cutoff was typically about the 15th percentile. So there are a number of students, like there are kids like right on that 24th percentile. They are just teetering on that, that are receiving services. Now, sometimes those services are provided in the classroom, but the oversight is provided by the reading specialist. So at the 24th percentile, the reading specialist might be working with the teacher to say, you have this group of kiddos that needs this specific deficit area addressed. Your small group instruction needs to focus on that. Keep in mind also that those plans require weekly progress monitoring. So not only are we delivering that intervention, but we have to monitor each individual student's progress on a weekly basis. So I can come back to you with the number we were serving. I gave it to you last year, but I don't remember what it was off the top when we did the case study to determine how many kiddos.
Yeah, and then the other thing is, let's say kids at that 24th percentile, are like, if they're in the fall, they're at 24, and then in the winter they're at 26, and then they go back to 24. Are they then on and off and on plans?
Yeah, so in the fall, they would have received intervention. If they were in the spring, then the second set of interventions they probably wouldn't have received. Now, if they get it in the spring, we'll use that information for how we start the school year.
Okay.
We're hoping that the windows change a bit. So they're really close because we finished our winter testing at the end of January, and now it's March and we're testing again. The reason for that is the law says that the spring assessment has to be administered prior to no later than the 45th day before the final day of the school year. Okay, that equates to April 22nd. April 22nd is the day we return from spring break. As a result, we have to ensure our testing is complete before we leave for spring break. So we're starting our testing March 31st, which is literally like 2 months of time has passed. And best practice says, the state says, that we have to have 10 weeks of intervention when we don't even have 10 weeks between the administration of the screener. It doesn't work. But so we're hoping that with some feedback, oh, very good. Thank you for saying that. So 82. Last year, 82. Taylor found it. 82 kiddos received instruction through intervention.
Quite a bit more.
Mm-hmm. Yes, about that, yeah. I mean, if we had spaces, we would go up a little bit, but it just depended on where kids scored. Yes. Did not.
Okay.
Yeah. Any questions?
It's a lot of paperwork.
But we're doing it.
Better readers. Okay, here we go.
Here we go. Okay.
Thanks.
Thank
Amy.
you.
Thank you.
All right, no other reports. Policy review and development. We have a second reading of policy 761, food service meal charging for delinquent accounts.
Yeah, Amy's not here. She gave me an update on a few things. So it is, you can see it right in front of you. What's been, what she's is recommending for a striking on the second reading. I don't think anything's changed from the first. And then what they're adding for alternative language to put in there. One of the she'd given me some information due to the fact I think somebody had requested it at the last meeting, and that was just wondering in regards to, we're making these changes to this food service policy, which we've done before, as you can see, back in 2017, right? And we did because of negative accounts. In this language, this new language that we're revising it to now in this year, is I think even a little more direct, right? Like getting rid of maybe may, and it's saying will, and that obviously that delinquent accounts will be sent to a collection agency, not may, right? A little stronger language. And I think a little bit goes back to what our current data is showing us. So as of the past Friday, there were 83 active families that have a negative balance of at least negative $5 or more. Of that, it equates to, of the active negative food service accounts, that equates to $9,143.94. So that's of our active negative food balance accounts right now. So, and it's not the first time, right? We've recognized this, we've dealt with it before. Then we had our period in time in which COVID, to be quite frank, we were providing breakfast and lunch free because of the extra funding that we were getting. But now we're back to not having that funding. So I think the recommendation on what we're recommending in the policy, we're still obviously strongly providing an alternative lunch but we're not going to necessarily provide that meal if a continuing of a negative balance continues. And that's the struggle we have as administrators all the time when we're talking about this, because we don't want to have the consequence be to the child and not receiving something, right? And so the policy is not saying they won't receive something, but the policy is saying that ultimately, look, that meal that's being provided won't be the same meal. There's going to be alternative lunch provided to you at a certain amount of time. And obviously we're putting in there, right, when it reaches a negative balance of $20 or more, which they have been provided many notices up to that point in time, or before that occurs too. And then obviously we highly encourage, right, the free and reduced lunch program for those that qualify for it, due to the fact that it changes the prices drastically on the reduced or the free side of it. So I hate it that we're saying that one of the steps would be going to the collection agency when it used to be May, and we did it occasionally. And now we're saying after A and B, you know, if that's not working, then it's obviously getting sent to a collection agency at that point in time. But it's quite an incurred cost if you think about it through a little more than half the year, up to $9,000 already.
Okay. Anybody see anything else to change for now, or we'll see it again next meeting? Okay. And we have a first reading of the next Neola policies, the administration 1000s.
Yeah, so there's a lot of them there, right? So please feel free. We don't have to go through them tonight. I'm not going through any of them. So it's a first reading, but when you had a chance to go through them, feel free to just even reach out to me. Offer, a suggestion on any grammatical to question on the overall content of the language itself. I'll be more than happy to implement those changes, or if you're like, reach out to council and, decide whether or not that paragraph should be there.
Yep.
But again, it's the first reading, so if you can, over the course of the next month, provide feedback on those, so when we get to a final reading, we'll be set on that too.
We also have the first reading of policy 528, drug and alcohol policy for CDL holders, and also 528.1, drug and alcohol policy for non-CDL holders.
Rach, do you have anything to add on that for the board on those policies?
The reason why we have two, in November we had a FMCSA audit, a Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. It was administered by the State Patrol. We failed on our drug and alcohol policy, and we took their sample policy along with Neola policy, kind of combined it all together. But they were really adamant that we could not change the definition of safety-sensitive function. So for our CDL holders, it has to be a separate policy than for our van drivers. They mirror each other. Same thing with like our random drug testing. We had to create a separate pool for our van drivers, because we obviously still want them tested, want to make sure that everybody's safe who's in transportation. But they cannot be in the same pool as our CDL drivers because of federal regulations. So.
Thanks, Rach.
Okay, so that's also a first reading. We have a first reading of policy 552, wages and insurance.
This is one that Amy and I are working on, just from some feedback, either from conversating with administration or just some things in practice. So trying to align policy with practice. So if you go to page 219, the first one is under N, National Board Certification. So my understanding is the policy was put into place with this being a flat $4,000. Over time, the CPI has been added on top of national boards, so now it is at $4,802. What we would like to do is see that go back to a flat amount that does not increase with CPI every year unless the board took action as such, and to remove that stipend for 2 years, which us all also aligning with practice. If an individual or teacher holds the certification, we would like to continue to pay them for that certification.
Got it.
So we're looking at keeping it 4,812.
Correct. Yep. So to not see an increase unless the board, basically we want to take it off the salary schedule to see that CPI increase from year after year. So that's the first one on N. The second page is going to be actually on P2 as it relates to overtime. So overtime P1 and overtime P2 contradicts itself. So P1 speaks to support staff who are eligible for overtime, allowing or being able to receive overtime for work over and above 40 hours. Number 2 had spoken previously, or currently I should say, to hours paid to be considered hours for overtime, meaning support staff members were receiving or currently are receiving overtime if they work or are paid over 40 hours. So if they have time off for 3 days and then they work 2 days and then an extra hour, they're getting paid overtime on that hour, even though they didn't physically work over 40 hours in a week. So what we would like to do is align this policy to the law, which states we only are required to pay overtime for hours worked, not hours paid above and beyond 40 hours. The last one is Q. So this is actually a new policy as it relates to comp time. So I believe Amy has spoken about True Time, which is a system that our support staff or hourly employees can utilize to clock in and out. We currently do use annualized pay on a calendar. We have like manual made calendars every year. It's essentially moving that to an automation system within Skyward, so a software that we're already utilizing. We're just adding a function, better record keeping, but along with that we have an ability to allow staff who do work overtime or over those 40 hours to request comp time in lieu of that overtime pay. So essentially comp time is calculated at the same idea as overtime, so 1.5 for every 1 hour worked over 40 hours. We would like to cap that at 80 hours a calendar year, payable by the end of a calendar if not used, to keep in alignment with Wisconsin retirements.
Any questions on those policy changes? All right. Communications announcements.
The only one I have is, I didn't get a chance to say it at the February board meeting, so still trying to get in a routine back in February. I think I was out of it that night. And I just wanted to say thank you to everybody. So I didn't get even a chance to say it that night. That tells you how out of it I was. So I want to say to all the administrative team and all the supervisors and everybody, I know that you guys really stepped up a lot while I was out for the last 3 months with that, with obviously the stroke. So really appreciate how much you stepped up, and the rare calls that I received, which were very rare. I know that probably wanted to be an inclination to call me right away, and yet you didn't. So I really appreciated that you allowed that kind of time to recover and everything and respected it. But I also know what it meant for each of you to have to kind of step up and take on even more on your plates. That's and to do it so well, coming back and just seeing it run fluently. I should probably be careful how much I compliment you about how well things are running. These 5 might decide that they don't need a superintendent, but really, I mean that. So I thank you. Honestly, though, I will say this: none of I don't know if that's none of it was a surprise to me. So I think that also speaks volumes to all of you, that it wasn't a surprise at all on how well you were doing with everything. And so I just wanted to say thank you. It didn't go unnoticed by any means. And then all of you deserve a lot of credit. I mean, I can go through each one of you, how each one of you stepped up. I am going to take a moment just to say thanks to Amy greatly. due to the fact that I think she kind of really stepped into like the role of the superintendent while I was gone. She says jokingly to me, like, you can have it back. But I do want to thank you a lot due to the fact you kind of kept me in the loop, but without involving me in it. And just for running things really well with the help of everybody else. But I know that you had a lot on your plate. I could tell you when I got back, so I really appreciate it. So all of you, I mean that to everybody, but special thanks to you. That did not go unnoticed, let me tell you. And then to the board, thanks for reaching out and sending me texts and emails and everything. And I didn't respond to most of them. I apologize, but I kind of was given a directive not to be doing anything, and I kind of had somebody looking over my shoulder the whole time. My wife, yeah. So literally, Amy, the running joke. I'm going to tell you this. So when I was even in the hospital, like literally a day after the stroke, wasn't not even a day. Okay, it wasn't even a day. I saw an email from Lindsay. Lindsay didn't even know I had the stroke, I don't think, yet. So I responded to her and told her what I would do, or gave her some feedback. And Amy heard about it and immediately texted my wife about that. Chris is on his phone.
In the
like,
ICU.
Yes, I was in the ICU too. And I will say I didn't have my phone anymore in the hospital. So Tammy came over and said, give it to me. And I'm like, oh, what? And she's like, I can't believe you're doing work right now. I'm like, all right. So anyways, but I just want to say seriously, thank you to everybody. It's nice to be back. It's been, a month and a half now. I'm starting to get back in a little bit of routine. I will say, though, the biggest thing I have to focus on, and it's hard, is I've been told very directly, like, it's good to get in your routine, but you must be more cognizant of not getting in routines that maybe help contribute to some of the issues. And I will say that's a lot more challenging than I thought it would be. Like, I'm like, yep, got it, good. I came back within a couple weeks. I'm like, oh yeah, kind of developed some bad habits and routines again. So it's a lot more challenging than you think until you have to really be held to that line. But I'm working on it. But honestly, I wouldn't be here today, back here, if it wasn't for not only all of your well wishes and prayers, but your support. So I appreciate it.
At the risk of leaving something out, I just wanted to highlight a few things that I've really enjoyed in the last few weeks. Our district had musicians at Solon Ensemble, middle school and high school. Just a bunch of great music. And it was really cool to see some of the groups that came together, kids, different combinations of kids that were playing. Bandorama was an enjoyable afternoon as always, although I wish we'd go back to the other song that we play at the end, but that's fine. Stars and Stripes Forever. The spring play was a few weeks ago. Our girls basketball team was undefeated conference champs, as well as the regional champs this year. They were really fun to watch. We had 3 wrestlers go to state. Brady Collins took second, and 2 others worked really hard and placed well as well. So just wanted to call out. I mean, there's just a ton of cool stuff to come and watch and take in. Try to get to as much as I can, and I hope the community jumps in. It's going to be a fun spring, I think, with sports and music and all the good stuff going on. So.
Thanks, Amy.
Yep.
Future items. Anybody have anything? Okay. Then I will make a motion to adjourn to executive session for discussion of bids as related to scope of phase 1 of referendum projects, staffing proposals, professional staff employment, contract renewal, non-renewal, update on professional staff employment pertaining to teacher licensure, and evaluation of district administrator as provided under state statute 19.851B, 19.851C, 19.851E, and 19.851F.
I'll second.
Okay, roll call vote. Steve? Adam?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Anna?
Yes.
And I vote yes. We're in closed session.